Hello and welcome to today's webinar, 3 Reasons Your Business Needs a Hybrid and Multi-Cloud Platform. Today's event is brought to you in partnership with Nutanix and produced by Actual Tech Media. Thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. We've got a great event lined up for you today. We want this to be an educational event, so we encourage your questions in the questions tab in your audience console, and we'll be doing a dedicated Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. So get your questions in early, and we want to help solve your technology challenges, especially related to hybrid and multi-cloud. So before we get started, you should know that my name is David Davis. I'll be your moderator for today's presentation. Thank you again for joining us. We do have a couple of resources I want to call your attention to there in the handouts tab. It's there that you'll find the link for the Nutanix test drive and also a PDF download on the Nutanix clusters solution. You can download that PDF and check it out after today's presentation. It's entitled Nutanix Clusters, a True Hybrid and Multi-Cloud Solution. So make sure that you check that out for more details about the solution that you'll see a live demo of on today's webinar. And with that, I'm excited to introduce you to today's expert presenters. They are Mr. Alan Waters, Senior Solutions Marketing Manager at Nutanix, and Mr. Sahil Bansal, Product Marketing Manager also at Nutanix. Alan and Sahil, thank you so much for being on the event today.
Hey, David, thanks.
Thank you both. Take it away, Alan.
Great, thanks, David. Hey, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. As David mentioned, my name is Alan Waters, Solutions Marketing. I'm here with Sahil Bansal, Product Marketing, and we're, of course, both from Nutanix. So kind of set the little bit of how the presentation is going to go today. I'm going to talk a little bit about hybrid, public, private cloud, some of the challenges, benefits of each. And then I'm going to hand it over to Sahil. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I know everybody wants to get into the hybrid or multi-cloud. So then I'm going to hand it over to Sahil so he can dig into the details on that. And he's even going to show a demo of how easy we make it. So let's get into it. So for the past few months, I've been sharing this message and showing this slide, and I think it really means more to today than ever, given the pandemic, given COVID-19 and so forth. But it really comes down to IT teams finding themselves with the added stress to increase agility, having to provision new workloads on demand, scale capacity quickly, bring new users on board without compromising security. And of course, we've all heard the stories of, you go home on a Saturday and you were told, on Monday you had to have 500 users working from home, right? I mean, that's the stress that some groups are dealing with out there. And a lot of times this requires a modern IT strategy, one that spans public and private environments, a strategy that allows IT managers to place workloads in the right cloud for the best economics, best performance, service level agreements, and control. And really, when you build a correctly built, and when you build it right, a hybrid cloud platform can be the answer to all this. It can really provide the integration between that on-prem, between that that private cloud that you have, and public cloud infrastructure that everybody loves. So, and really a key to this is enabling the interoperability between those two environments, including the migration of those applications and data, all with unified management. So there's great reasons for public cloud, right? It addresses a lot of those pains, and that's why the market for public cloud is growing so fast. It's really proven itself. When you go up to AWS and you swipe your credit card, you get all that automation. You get all that one-click simplicity, the flexible consumption. You can see what you're getting, the consumption that you're getting, and you can see all the details associated with it. And of course, when you go to bed, you wake up the next morning, you suddenly have new features and that continuous innovation. So, there's great reasons for public cloud. But when you think of it, there's also great reasons for private cloud, for on-prem. It has advantages too. And really, when you think about a private cloud and what you might have on-prem, the first consideration to think about are all those legacy applications that you might have. Some of those legacy applications, simply are unable to run in a public cloud infrastructure without refactoring. And of course, that can become expensive. It can take a long time, and it can be complex. So next consideration might be costs, right? And the predictable costs. So when you look at some of those enterprise type of applications that have a predictable demand characteristic, that's not burstable type of thing, they're predictable. We see that those tend to run with a lower TCO on-prem in kind of the private cloud setting rather than a public cloud setting. So there's a cost factor there. There's regulatory concerns to think about, GDPR and others like that might limit even the ability to use public clouds or even place data there. And then, of course, there's the control and security that you might feel, even when it comes to kind of IT trying to deploy custom applications and protect those applications and the data that might be associated with it. And then the service level agreements, data protection, the performance by placing workloads in the fastest possible location. So there's a lot of benefits for the private cloud and on-prem side to keep in mind too. So when you're trying to set all this stuff up, and I know a lot of you out there are probably going through this or have witnessed it, but it's a perfect example of the complexity and even the silos that happen when trying to set up a hybrid cloud type of setting. Challenges can add up fast. Things such as data locality, workload and license portability. Will this work here? Will this work there? Type of thing. The latency that might be involved. Some might be run faster on-prem. Identity management, or even in the public cloud, identity management, consistent security controls that might be associated. So as you've probably experienced it, the complexity can get problematic pretty fast. So why is hybrid cloud preferred by most IT professionals? Because it really offers the best of both worlds. It's a combo of the two and can be more, right? And as you can see, it's all about combining the two: the predictability, the performance, compliance, security of on-prem, and then when you combine it with all the goodness that a public cloud, AWS might offer, the agility, endless scale, the zero infrastructure management, all the good things that public cloud offers. There's great benefits for a hybrid cloud. So. But one of the most important factors to a hybrid cloud is it really requires the integration of both the control and data planes. So don't forget about the two of these, right? So when you think about the control plane integration, think about that single point of control for all your cloud assets, both on the public side and the private side. And then there's the data plane side of it that enables the migration of applications and data between the two environments. And the solution that you pick, or hopefully you consider, but please keep these two things in mind, because the solution needs to enable both pieces, and both have to be enabled easily, right? Because when you think about the two of those, then you get a true hybrid cloud. And I mentioned it before, how do you avoid all the complexity and really do it right the first time? And Sahil's going to show you, picking the right platform is key. When you pick the right one, it's going to eliminate all that complexity. So if you've ever experienced, some of the, quote, complicated suites that might be out there that require months of professional services, there's got to be a better way. So biggest concerns: is it easy to use? Can you get it up and running quickly? I mean, Sahil's going to show you that you can get it up and running quickly in less than an hour. He'll show you that in a second. Is it simple to get components added when you need them, whether it's data protection and so forth? I'll show you a little bit more of that. But is it easy to add components without, again, months of professional services associated with it? So it needs to be 100% software defined. It's got to be able to decouple software from the hardware. Subscription-based, hopefully, software licenses being portable between both on-prem and public clouds, between those environments. And as you heard, it's got to have the ability to run all the applications and services that you have, security policies that are attached to those workloads and applications, and follow them, right? Independent of the cloud that they might be running on. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Sahil so he can dig more into the details and show you a little bit more about the Nutanix clusters and hybrid cloud. So Sahil, take it away.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you everyone for joining us today. It's a pleasure to get to talk to you about what Nutanix does and specifically what our offering is in this hybrid and multi-cloud space. For those of you that may not be familiar with Nutanix a little bit, we pioneered the field of hyperconverged infrastructure, HCI, software-driven infrastructure, to modernize your on-prem data center environments, bringing in storage, virtualization, networking, compute in one single software-driven solution. That's been the bedrock of our offering for over the last 10 plus years that Nutanix has been in the market. But since then, we've evolved as a company as our customers are evolving to deliver our entire cloud platform, the Nutanix Cloud Platform, which is built on our core HCI infrastructure, along with services that we offer for data center management, such as storage services, networking, business continuity services, along with services that we offer for the DevOps teams, helping them build cloud native applications, helping them with automated lifecycle management, database as a service, as also adding desktop services like VDI, desktop as a service, delivered with the hyperconverged infrastructure as the bedrock, but also delivered anywhere, whether that's in your private cloud built on your data center, or whether that's in public clouds like the hyperscalers, the Nutanix's own public cloud, or service provider public clouds. And so that's what we mean our entire cloud platform, delivering data center services, DevOps services, desktop services, either in your private cloud environment or in public cloud, with one-click mobility and seamless operations across both the environments. So that's what is delivered in our solution. But what are the core fundamentals behind the hybrid and multi-cloud piece? What is it? What are the key characteristics that identify a hybrid and multi-cloud? It truly needs to be a unified platform that allows you to use the same skill sets and same constructs in both different environments, both for your private cloud management as well as for your public cloud management. Having that kind of a seamless experience across both sides will truly help you accelerate app migration and workload migration across on-prem to public clouds. And that's a bi-directional migration, and that could even be just for elasticity or burstability across private and public clouds instead of full-blown migration. And the way we deliver that is by packaging in a native integration between our solution and public clouds like AWS, Azure, and others that allows you to access the cloud native services without needing any additional networking overlays. There is the IP addresses that your VMs running on Nutanix hybrid cloud get. They are the same IP addresses as if those VMs were native in public cloud. So the public clouds will see them as, oh, these are just my own VMs. They can access my cloud services directly. So that's delivering that level of native integration with public cloud services is what we believe helps you truly decouple your apps and workloads from the underlying platform. And it's not just decoupling your apps and workloads, it's also decoupling your business investments by giving you license portability. So that your investment in Nutanix is an investment in Nutanix Cloud Platform, no matter where Nutanix is running, whether that's Nutanix running on-prem or whether that's Nutanix running in public clouds. Your licenses migrating with Nutanix truly give you truly decouples your business investment as well as your technology investment. And that is powered by what we call our solution as Nutanix clusters, which provides the underlying hybrid and multi-cloud infrastructure, connecting both your on-prem environment and your public cloud environments. It helps to run the full Nutanix Cloud Platform on public clouds like AWS. It is available on AWS today. If you may have seen our announcement about this, we announced it about a month or so ago that is now generally available. So that was one of our key announcements earlier in the month of August, as well as our .next conference, which just finished yesterday, earlier this morning, actually. And Nutanix clusters, in addition to running the Nutanix Cloud Platform on AWS bare metal instances, also helps to seamlessly connect your private and public cloud environments with a truly unified management plane that you can use to manage your apps, data, infrastructure in both on-prem and public cloud environments. And that's what we mean by a truly hybrid and multi-cloud architecture that is operated as a unified single cloud. So that's what Nutanix Clusters delivers for you. And some of the key use cases that we see for Nutanix Clusters involve customers that want to move from on-prem environments to public clouds, but their apps would probably need to be re-architected. Their workloads would need to be re-architected. And instead of spending those months and years in re-architecting those apps, with a truly unified hybrid and multi-cloud that we provide, you can just lift and shift your applications across clouds. That could be private cloud to public cloud, that could be public cloud to private cloud. So bidirectional lift and shift with absolutely no code change needed, right? You, as your apps exist today, you are able to migrate them without any code changes, without any retooling. But let's say maybe you don't want to migrate your apps permanently, but you do want to benefit from the public cloud elasticity and agility. We have several customers, that are planning for seasonal increases in demands as the holiday season approaches, or they might just have other needs that are short-term burstability needs where they need more resources, but they don't want to expand their data center capacity for it. So you can use the Nutanix hybrid cloud to connect your on-prem environment with the public cloud and burst additional resources into public cloud on demand, and get the resources that you need without having to expand your data center capacity. That could be specifically for in the context of business continuity, and you might want to use public clouds as a DR site instead of having to manage a secondary data center. So again, the Nutanix hybrid cloud helps you connect your on-prem environment with the public cloud so that you can use the public cloud resources to recover in the case of a disaster recovery event. And lastly is you might have some legacy apps that you want to use certain specialized public cloud services for, such as you might want to use some AI or ML services. You might want to use the AWS CDN with your on-prem apps. So we give you truly the ability to take your on-prem VMs and access the public cloud services directly using your existing VPNs, using all of your existing networking setup. So that's what we are showing in this sort of like architecture diagram. You have the Nutanix private cloud running in your data center environment. That's what our 17,000 core customer base runs today. And now what we're giving you the ability to do is seamlessly extend that same agility and benefits of the Nutanix HCI infrastructure across over to public clouds. We provision the bare metal instances for you, deploy the Nutanix software on it while using your same existing AWS accounts. It's not a separate account. It's not a managed services. It is you managing the Nutanix clusters in your existing AWS accounts, using all of your credits that might be available to you in that AWS account, using the same VPCs that you might have provisioned today. If you have a VPN connected between your on-prem to public cloud, you can use it. If you have a subnet, a private subnet deployed, you can use it. There is no additional networking complexity that is needed, and that is what gives the direct access to public cloud services. The migration is completely seamless. There is no code changes needed. And we deliver the same performance of AOS, the Nutanix AOS software, without any significant compromise in the performance. No retooling, no refactoring. You get the very similar performance in public cloud as you would get in your data center. And you're able to use your existing Nutanix software licenses. You're able to use your existing AWS credits. You're able to use all of your existing setup just by this plug and play between the Nutanix on-prem and public clouds. And so this is available for AWS today. We announced the GA for this about a month or so ago. It is a completely self-serve solution We are, of course, here to help you out, but I will show you in the demo how you can get started with Nutanix on public clouds today without any handholding from us. And the reason why we call this a hybrid and multi-cloud solution is because, yes, Azure is coming soon. That is the next biggest announcement. In fact, we just announced our plans, our partnership with Azure earlier this week at our .next conference. I think we announced it on today, where Nutanix and Microsoft are working together to deliver this hybrid cloud solution with Azure. And so if you think from the perspective of a Nutanix customer, this is truly delivering you both a hybrid and multi-cloud. Hybrid because now you have your data center and public clouds, two different constructs, and hybrid and multi-cloud because it's the same Nutanix environment running everywhere. AWS is now supported. Azure is coming by the end of this calendar year is our target for a public preview, and GA sometime in the first half of the next calendar year. So not too far for at least the public preview of Nutanix on Azure. But we started this session with 3 reasons why your business needs a hybrid and multi-cloud. So what are those 3 reasons? These are the 3 reasons. As Alan mentioned earlier in the beginning, right? What we are delivering is complete freedom for you to take your apps, take your workloads as they exist today, and move them on-prem to public cloud or public cloud to on-prem. In addition to that, truly unifying your app, data, and infrastructure management across the various clouds. And also, the moment we talk to our customers about public clouds, one of the first concerns that they have is, I have heard public cloud can be expensive because of the lack of governance and lack of controls. It's hard to keep a control over how your public cloud resources are going to be deployed. So we've also built in certain features that will help you lower your overall operational costs with Nutanix clusters. So taking a look at each one of these 3 benefits. So as I mentioned, completely seamless migration with 0 app change from on-prem to public clouds, and delivered with a native integration between our Nutanix on-prem as well as the public clouds like AWS. So our cluster solution packages in that native networking integration. What that means is your VPCs, the IP address space that they have in your public cloud in AWS, you can take that same IP address space and configure that in your Nutanix on-prem, in your Nutanix hybrid cloud environment, so that when you deploy the VMs on Nutanix hybrid cloud, those VMs will get the IP address that is native to AWS. Those VMs to AWS, they will look like exactly they are any AWS native VMs. So you get the direct access to the underlying AWS bare metal instances without having to manage any networking overlays. If your CPU consumption or your memory consumption or your storage reaches a certain threshold, you can configure that so that we'll automatically provision additional nodes for you. So that's on-demand, scale up and scale down, seamless migration across the apps, easily expand the cluster capacity when you need more resources, and then of course shut the hybrid cloud down environment when you don't need it. And the second benefit, unified public and yes.
Hey, Sahil. One question I couldn't answer. I figured ask you a question as you're going along here. One question from Jason's. He's asking if customers don't want an on-prem solution, can they run all this on AWS if they're closing data centers? So basically, can Nutanix host their solution on AWS for pure cloud customers? Will all this work on AWS without on-prem?
Absolutely. Nutanix on AWS does not need Nutanix on-prem. The hybrid obviously means that you have an on-prem and public cloud, but I will show that to you in the demo that we actually start with deploying Nutanix on AWS first. You do not need Nutanix on-prem. And even if you do not have Nutanix in your data center on-prem, we offer you migration solutions that can take you from your non-Nutanix on-prem environment to Nutanix in AWS. Right. So if you're shutting down your data centers, if you have Nutanix, if you have Nutanix in your data center, the migration from Nutanix on-prem to Nutanix on public cloud becomes very trivial. If you don't have it, we still offer migration solutions that can take your apps and workloads from your data center to Nutanix on public cloud. So all private clouds welcome, and you can definitely run Nutanix on AWS without needing Nutanix on-prem.
Awesome. Thank you. That was easier for you to say than me type out.
And sure. And then, of course, like, when we say unified, hybrid, and multi-cloud, what we mean is no matter where Nutanix is running, you get one single you get one single management plane, which we call Prism. For our customers that are already familiar, this is what you use as Prism Central to manage now Nutanix running anywhere, right? So you can manage your EC2 bare metal instances from the same Prism Central environment. You can manage your virtual machines. You can manage your containers, your storage, your networking and security policies, any of your apps that you might have written to run as blueprints on Nutanix, right? You can manage the operational lifecycle of those apps, whether that's Nutanix on-prem in your data center, whether that's Nutanix on AWS, whether that's Nutanix on Azure, which will be coming in a few months in public preview. And whether that's Nutanix anywhere in the other public clouds that we will support. It's one management plane to rule them all, right? And the benefit to that, of course, is improved efficiency. If you have one team, one infrastructure management team that can manage both your on-prem as well as your compute infrastructure in public clouds, that's far more efficient than having siloed tools and siloed policies and having many different consoles to manage. And lastly, I mentioned about helping you lower your operational costs. So a unique feature that we've built into the Nutanix hybrid cloud solution is what we call hibernate and resume feature. As I mentioned, you are running these on public cloud bare metal instances, and they can get expensive, right? I think the cost can be about $100 per day to run those bare metal instances, and those costs can add up. But let's say if you're not running that in production 24/7, we have a feature called Hibernate, where you can send all of your data into S3 storage buckets in AWS when you don't need the hybrid cloud, and shut down your bare metal instances and remove Nutanix, so that you're not paying for either the bare metal instances or you're not paying for the Nutanix HCI software. You'd more or less just be paying for that S3 storage bucket at that time. And when you're ready to bring it back up, you can recover from the S3 bucket. We will spin up the EC2 instances. We will deploy the Nutanix HCI software on those EC2 instances, and your session will recover with no loss of data. You're not paying for the bare metal instances during that time. You're not paying for Nutanix during that time. You're more or less just paying for storage. It's great for a DR use case. It's great for on-demand bursting use case when you might need the hybrid cloud only for a certain period of time and not running 24/7 in production. So that's truly a unique feature that we've built into our solution. And also, I mentioned at the beginning that we help you with license mobility across clouds. So whether that's a Nutanix cluster running in AWS or in Azure or in the Nutanix cloud, which we intend to support in future, your same licenses will work anywhere, right? So you just buy a certain capacity from Nutanix based on your workload. And then if your workload requirements change, if you need to migrate that workload across a different cloud, your license investment moves with that workload. That's far more cost efficient for customers than having to have different IT investments in different clouds. These are the bare metal instances. These are the AWS bare metal instances that we support today. So you can see M5D.metal, i3, i3EN, and Z1D. Across these 4 bare metal instances, we have a good amount of global coverage. You can see a bunch of different Americas regions over here in US, and I see Canada also over there, as well as we have LATAM, South America, and also other global regions. And so we offer a good amount of coverage over here across these 4 bare metal instance types. And in terms of licensing, of course, this is a hybrid cloud. So, there is the cost associated with the AWS bare metal instances, which is entirely up to the customer, how you want to manage the AWS bare metal instance costs. But because we use your existing AWS accounts, right? If you have any savings plans that you might have purchased with AWS, if you have any reserved instances that you might have purchased with AWS, you will be able to use all of those and have them accounted towards your hybrid cloud bare metal instances. And similarly, we've kept a very similar billing construct even for the Nutanix software. For our existing Nutanix on-prem customers, they are able to transfer their existing licenses from on-prem to public clouds, right? Or even if you are a new customer to Nutanix and you just buy a certain amount of license capacity, you can associate some capacity with public cloud and some capacity with Nutanix on-prem. In addition to that, we also offer, similar to the public cloud, we offer subscription-based pricing, right? Maybe you want to start small and then see as your business grows. So we offer pay-as-you-go pricing, which is metered per hour and then billed at the end of the month based on what your actual consumption might be for that month. Or, for once you know that, yeah, you do want to run your apps in a hybrid cloud over a longer period of time, we offer term-based, commitment-based pricing that would give you the benefits of discounting based on the amount of capacity that you commit to. And again, that's a capacity that you're committing to the full Nutanix hybrid cloud solution, whether that runs on AWS, whether that runs on Azure. We do not get to talk too much about Azure, but for our customers that are familiar with the Azure construct called MAC commitments, which is Microsoft Azure commit to consume, you will be able to use those MAC commitments to account towards your hybrid cloud. So your procurement of Azure bare metal instances, as well as your procurement of the Nutanix software, will account towards your Azure MAC contract, making it very easy for you to get started. Between Alan and I, we've been talking for about 30 minutes. I'm always a strong believer that seeing is believing. So I will try to share my screen and do a quick demo and show you how this works in a real demo. And you know that this is a demo because I will probably forget my password. Let's see. I hope you're able to see my screen. If not, please let me know.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So for customers that are familiar with Nutanix, our portal is called My Nutanix, my.nutanix.com. So you would go to our My Nutanix portal, log in, and you will see a way for you to start a free trial. We offer a 30-day free trial of our Nutanix cluster solution. And when you log into My Nutanix, you will see a big CTA call to action saying, if you want to start your Nutanix clusters free trial, click here. Once you've started your free trial of Nutanix clusters, the first thing you want to do is give us access to your public cloud, right? So you create something, a construct called organization, and then you want to add your public cloud account to it. So the steps are pretty simple. You see over here, it says AWS because we support AWS today. As I mentioned, Azure public preview is expected by the end of this calendar year. You give us what your cloud account is, your AWS account ID, and then you select the AWS regions that you want to configure in Nutanix. And what we provide is, for those of you who are familiar with AWS CloudFormation, this will spin up a CloudFormation script, which gives Nutanix the ability to provision your bare metal instances. It just takes like 2 minutes to run the script, right? So if I go ahead and click Create Stack, it will run that script, and then you just verify it, and it will configure your public cloud account in Nutanix. So here we see I have an account that is already configured in Nutanix. 2 minutes, run a CloudFormation script, which gives us access to manage your S3 buckets and your bare metal instances. Next step, we are going to create a Nutanix cluster, right? So there is the organization that we created. There is the cloud. So you can see it says AWS today. When we have Azure publicly available, this will give you a drop-down menu showing Azure over here. And then you can select the region that you want. I have a VPN that's connected between my AWS Frankfurt account and my Nutanix on-prem. So that's why I'm choosing the Frankfurt region over here. And this is what I mean by you can use all of your existing networking setup, right? So here you see we have automatically detected the VPCs that are configured with my AWS Frankfurt account and the subnets that are under that VPC. We do need a private subnet to deploy the Nutanix clusters management VMs. So it's showing me the private clusters that are available in my VPC, or you can create completely new, right? You can say, nope, just give me a separate one for testing or anything. So you can either select an existing VPC and subnet, or you can create a new one. Just select next. And here you see the bare metal instance types that we support. based on how many cores and storage and memory that you need, you can select the instance type. You can select the number of nodes that you want in your cluster. For any kind of production use case, we recommend at least 3 nodes in a cluster. But for the purpose of demo, I'm just going to choose a single node cluster with a replication factor of 1. Just select some SSH key, leave the Nutanix software version as it is, click next, and that's it. This is now going to start procuring bare metal instances from AWS. It is going to start to deploy the Nutanix software on those bare metal instances. And in roughly 30 to 45 minutes, the Nutanix on AWS environment will be up and running. So we see here I have a different single node cluster that is already running. That's the one that we just deployed, and it will get provisioned in 30 to 45 minutes. But I have this one that's already running. So let's see, what does this look like? First of all, what does this look like on the AWS side? We've deployed this cluster from Nutanix. So we see that the name of this cluster has something like 2E5. If I go to my AWS console, remember I deployed this in the Frankfurt region, so I'm in the Frankfurt region right now. I go to my compute instances, and let's see if I can find, there it is. That's a bare metal node that Nutanix had deployed. So we procured this bare metal node from AWS. There it says z1d.metal, and we are running Nutanix software, Nutanix AOS, Prism, and AHV, which is our own hypervisor, on this bare metal instance. While we do deploy AHV on the public cloud nodes, you can absolutely have any hypervisor in your on-prem environment. That can be any of the hypervisors that we support, ESXi, Hyper-V, or our own hypervisor, AHV. So once this is up and running, our management console, as I said, is called Prism. So you can log into Prism. Let's see if I can remember the password for this one. Okay. So this Prism is our management console for everything that you do with Nutanix, whether that's managing your VMs and containers, managing your storage, managing your data protection policies for creating a disaster recovery plan, setting up application automation policies, setting up security policies, microsegmentation, and so on. So here you see this says AWS model. That's it. That's the only difference with Nutanix running on AWS. If you compare it with Nutanix running on-prem. If this was Nutanix running on-prem, this would give the name of the server model from on-prem, which could be a Nutanix provided server, which could be a Cisco server, which could be a Dell server. And now it happens to be an AWS server. And that's truly it. That's really the only difference that there is. So that's a Prism Prism environment that's associated with the specific cluster that we just deployed. If I want to use that to manage multiple clusters, I come to what we call a Prism Central. Here you see I have a bunch of different clusters. These are just like we deployed this cluster. I have a bunch of different clusters that are configured in this Prism Central is what we call it. We have Nutanix running on ESXi on-prem. We have Nutanix running on AHV on-prem. That's the cluster that we were just looking at, the AWS demo cluster that's running on AWS. And when Azure is available for public preview, you will have Nutanix running on Azure over here. So this becomes truly your centralized place for you to manage all of your Nutanix, all of your infrastructure, whether that's on-prem or in public cloud. And let's say if you wanted to go ahead and configure a DR plan, a disaster recovery plan, I'm going to switch to a different called protection policies, right? So here I have a protection policy that I already have configured. And if this pulls up the protection policy, so yeah, there you see. So here it shows my primary location is my on-prem data center, which I have running in San Jose. Or I could give it any other location as well. And then I specify my recovery target for my DR. And in this case, I can specify a public cloud cluster. It is, once you have configured Nutanix with public cloud, your cluster will show up over here automatically, and you can specify your public cloud target. And so this is how we create what we call our disaster recovery plan, or set up the protection policy for that DR plan. It's all just Nutanix. It just now happens to run on AWS. And once I configure that DR plan, then should a DR event happen, or if I want to do a planned failover, I can just trigger my DR scenario, and it will start to replicate my VMs over to my secondary site, my recovery site, which in this case happens to be public cloud. There you see that's the node that we had just started creating. So we see it's booting. It will be done in about 30 to 45 minutes, depending upon the cluster capacity. And I mentioned the hibernate feature, right? Let's say I'm done with this. I'm done with the demo. So what I'm going to do is take this very simple one-click hibernate feature, click on this, and within about 5 minutes, this will start to take this EC2 instance and send it into stopped state. It's now in running. We'll probably go back and see if there are any questions. If we come back over here after that, you will see that this would have reached a stopped state like we have for this other node that we have hibernated. So you only pay for what you actually consume. We give you the ability to have highly granular payment plans. We give you the ability to have this nice hibernation feature. And that's how we help you get the most benefits out of the Nutanix hybrid cloud. So what's next for you, right? We have something called a test drive, which you can take to, sort of like a self-guided tour to help you understand how this deployment process works, to get you more comfortable with it. If you go to our website, nutanix.com/clusters, you'll see that test drive CTA over there, right? It takes about 30 to 45 minutes to finish the whole test drive experience. And if you're ready, when you're ready, you can extend it to a free trial. That's a 30-day free trial of Nutanix. During the free trial phase, the AWS infrastructure cost is the responsibility of the user. During the test drive, we take care of all of the AWS infrastructure. So the test drive is meant to give you like a good understanding of not just the hybrid cloud, but also the private cloud. How does the Nutanix private cloud work? How do you set up a protection policy? How do you set up a application automation blueprint? How do you set up networking? How do you set up microsegmentation and so on? So our test drive is a full-blown experience of Nutanix, helping you understand how we build a private cloud, helping you understand how we extend that to a hybrid cloud. That's all that I have, about 40 odd minutes. Happy to take any questions that might have come in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great demo, Sahil. A really great presentation as well, Alan. I appreciate you guys doing the live demo, because it just, like you said, live demo, really seeing is believing with the solution. And the Nutanix solution is really amazing and powerful. And we've been receiving a lot of comments and questions as well. Lots of comments, folks saying that they've already used Nutanix and love it, and how much it's changed their IT infrastructure and architecture, and how it's made their IT so much more efficient. So look, we do have some questions. While we do so, I'm just going to bring up this poll. The poll on the screen is, what additional information would you like about the Nutanix solution? And we'll leave that up while we do some Q&A. So Alan, I think you've answered many of the questions that have come in already. One of the questions I saw here that I wanted to ask is, for you, Alan, what's the difference between having an HCI and just environment versus a private cloud?
Yeah, that's a good question, and the same can be said for a lot of folks that might be running current environment out there. You might when you get to talking to them in the briefing center, it's like, yeah, well, I have a private cloud built out. But then when you start digging into it, and the same, folks that have moved to HCI think, yeah, I have this covered, I have a private cloud. But when you start digging into it and you start asking questions like, do you have much of the same capabilities you might get when you go up to AWS? Do you have automation? Do you have a self-service marketplace? Do you have all of these types of things and the security on top? HCI, brings a lot of benefits like lifecycle management, but when you start, thinking about storage consolidation that Nutanix can do, automation, cost governance, and the security and the data protection and replication that we can do, there's a lot more to building out, an on-prem environment or even your HCI environment to build that private cloud. And then, what Sahil just showed you, the great thing about Nutanix is when you have that private cloud and when you have the environment ready, you flip that switch and that private cloud becomes a hybrid cloud. And that's, within an hour, that's how easy we make it. So I think there's a little difference between saying you have HCI or have an on-prem and having a real private cloud. So I think there's a difference there. And it depends, and it can come down to the capabilities that you've added on.
Yeah, absolutely. A huge difference. Great point. All right, let's see. Next question here is for Sahil. They're asking about, can we sign up for early access for Nutanix on Azure?
Yes, absolutely. Currently we are in a private preview, but the early access, or what we call the public preview, is targeted for the end of this calendar year. If you go to nutanix.com/Microsoft, we have information about our Azure solution that we're jointly developing with the Azure team. And there is a waitlist form on our website. So that's nutanix.com/Microsoft for running Nutanix on Azure.
Excellent. Excellent. I look forward to that. Next question, can we migrate apps from non-Nutanix on-prem to public cloud?
Yes, and I think that question also came up during the presentation that Alan called out. We absolutely have capabilities using a tool called Nutanix Move, which can move any of your on-prem workloads, even if they might be running on legacy 3-tier architecture or on non-Nutanix on-prem environments. We can move that to Nutanix environments. That could be Nutanix on-prem, that could be Nutanix on AWS. So you can definitely use a combination of Nutanix Move and Nutanix clusters to take your on-prem workloads and move them to public clouds with Nutanix.
Very nice. Yeah, that could make it easy. And no refactoring, right?
Absolutely. No refactoring, no code changes. It's lift and shift. It's truly a lift and shift.
Excellent. And then what about, they're asking, can we use Nutanix Hybrid Cloud without being a Nutanix on-prem customer? Is this something we can just deploy in AWS, for example, without having Nutanix on-prem?
Yes. So if you saw during the demo, the first step is reconfigure the public cloud account with Nutanix. At that step, we haven't even talked about anything to do with Nutanix on-prem. The flow is you give us access to your public cloud, you configure Nutanix, you start to run it on public cloud, then you configure it with Nutanix on-prem. And that last aspect is totally up to you. That's only required if you want to specifically move it from Nutanix on-prem to Nutanix on AWS. If you don't, if you just want to run Nutanix on AWS, that still absolutely works.
Very nice. Sounds easy. I love the demo again. I think that we've covered just about all the questions here that have come in. Lots of really good questions and good feedback. Before we go, I want to remind everyone out there. Sorry, go ahead.
If I may, I just wanted to remember the cluster that we had started hibernating. So there it is. If I just do a refresh, you see it now shows that it is stopping. The status shows it is hibernating. And if I come to my EC2 console, and if I look at my cluster, there you see it now shows it is in stopping mode. That's a really powerful feature. We have not seen any of the other hybrid clouds have anything similar. With a lot of the other vendors, what you end up doing is you end up paying, like for 24-hour usage, for 24/7 usage, even if you may not need it. And a lot of the times we see that the benefits of hybrid environment are truly on the elasticity and burstability of AWS, which could be a short-term thing, which could be a few days, which could be a few weeks. So we wanted to give the customers that freedom to run Nutanix only during the time period that they actually need to run it on public clouds. And that hibernation feature definitely adds that. So I just wanted to show, look, no hocus pocus, we actually can shut down these instances on demand.
Very nice. Thank you for showing that. Before we go, I want to remind everyone, of course, to take the Nutanix test drive over at Nutanix.com. The test drive link is there in the handouts tab, and you can sign up and do that no charge. And then there's also the free 30-day trial of Nutanix. You can go to Nutanix.com/clusters to learn more about the Nutanix clusters solution. With that, I want to thank Alan and Sahil both. A great presentation and demo. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, David.
Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
And thank you to Nutanix for supporting today's event. Before we go, I want to award today's gift card. The $300 gift card is going to Monty Hartman from Colorado. Congratulations, Monty Hartman from Colorado will reach out to you to deliver your gift card. Thank you to everyone who joined us on the event today. We appreciate it. Hope to see you next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.